Good afternoon. I'm Dan Montez from the CU President's Office. Welcome to the pre-submission webinar for the 2023 Boettcher Webb-Waring Biomedical Research Awards Program. We are joined today by the Chair of the Selection Panel, Dr. Lori Sussel, and Vice Chair, Dr. Chad Pearson. Today's webinar will include an overview of the program, what's new in 2023, who is eligible to apply, the application process, tips for completing your applications, and key resources you may need in completing your application. We will conclude with an opportunity for some Q&A with Lori and Chad. And I'll now turn this over to Dr. Sussel for an overview of the program.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come and listen to us on a Friday afternoon. So just to give you some information about the grants, this year there's going to be up to 6 grants of $235,000, including F&A, for up to 3 years of research activity for promising and talented early career investigators at CU. Awardees will receive the prestigious title of Boettcher Investigator. Eligible faculty researchers from all 4 campuses are encouraged to apply, and we provided here the website for more information. What's new in 2023? So it's really exciting. We have a 6th award now has been allocated to CU for next year's award. Eligibility criteria for initial career track position and terminal degree or medical residency are now based on January 1st of the year of the award. This is new. It used to be January 1st of the year the program was announced, so it would be now January 1st, 2023. Threshold for a major independent research award has been raised from $125,000, this is excluding indirect costs, to $175,000, again excluding indirect costs. We need to clarify whether that's per year or for a total award, so we will get back to you, and that information will be on the website. And the limit for equipment was increased from $5,000 to $7,500. Because the costs are increasing all over the place. Also, what's new is that holders of K99 R00 grants are now eligible to apply if they clearly demonstrate that their Webb-Waring Biomedical Award research proposal is distinct from their postdoctoral study. So it has to be an area of research that is much different than your K99 or R00. This will allow you to branch out into new areas of research. We've also clarified that the initial career track appointment may have occurred at another institution, and therefore the 4-year clock would start with the initial career track appointment. So if you were an assistant professor at a university outside of CU and you moved to CU, that clock starts ticking at the other university. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and that has to be the date of the application in the award selection year. So as of 2023, you need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Okay, so to be eligible, these are your requirements. You have to be within 4 years of your appointment to initial career track academic position. Again, this is at any institute, not just at CU. And this appointment had to have begun on or after January 1st, 2019. In general, these are career or faculty appointments that have significant expectation regarding research, teaching, and or clinical activities. So you have to be a tenure track or career track faculty. And eligible faculty titles at CU are listed here. The tenure track faculty positions are assistant professor or associate professor. But again, it has to be within the 4 years of your initial appointment. And or they can be a research or clinical track assistant professor or associate professor. Again, eligibility, you cannot have previously received a major independent research award at the time of application or even at the time of selection. So if you do not have an award at the time of application, but by the time the award would be set to begin, you can't have had already received that major independent award. These awards include an NIH R01 or something similar, which provides independent research support of at least $175,000, excluding indirect costs. What is new is this year is for the first time, we're allowing holders of K99 or R00 grants to be eligible if they clearly demonstrate that their Webb-Waring Biomedical Award research program is distinct from their previous studies or the studies that you've written up in your K9900. You also have to be able to meet the other eligibility requirement, which is the fact that if you cannot have a grant that's over $175,000. To be eligible, you also have to receive a terminal degree or completed your medical residency within 10 years of the application. And so this means that you must have received a terminal degree or completed your medical residency on or after January 1st, 2013. And again, as I mentioned, you have to either be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident as of the date of the application and the award selection year. Remember, you must meet all 4 criteria to be eligible. You should determine eligibility before proceeding with the application. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email us and find out if you are eligible. And you must complete and sign the 2023 eligibility certification and verification form. And your department chair has to co-sign this form to confirm your eligibility. So some items that we need to stress. The career plan is a really important criteria of the application. So not only do you have to have a really strong research plan, but your career plan is really important to detail. Your departmental commitment is also very, very important. So your chair has to write a really strong letter for you to promote your application. Other ways you're going to need to do is to stress how this grant will help your progress to independence. This is either from a mentor letter or from the department commitment letter or statement or from your department chair saying, you know, this is how this grant is really going to help you enter or progress in your independent career. And now I'm going to pass it over to Chad, who's going to talk to you about application process and tips.
Great. Thank you, Lori. So let me spend a little bit of time talking about the application process and tips. So I think the key thing here is to follow the instructions that have been provided by the Boettcher. They're thorough and provide a lot of the information that I'm going to outline here. The other important point here is to treat this like any other or many other of the applications that we write to agencies like the NIH or the NSF. It's going to be much of the same types of format. In particular, we are going to use Arial 11-point font. In contrast to some of those other grants, we will use we ask that you use 1-inch margins. And importantly, please avoid using fancy formatting, such as making 2 columns or anything that make it difficult for reviewers to read the document either on paper or on their iPads or computer screens. So if we talk about some of the application components, this is going to be broken into a series of sections, beginning with the cover letter, which is a 1-page document that will explain the goals of the research in a way that is suitable to a lay audience. This will be read by all of us and will allow us to also distribute the grants. In section 1, a half-page document should be dedicated to the relevance of your research to human health. An important piece of the criterion that we, in the selection process, is how your work applies to human health relevance. Section 2 is a scientific abstract of a 1-page maximum. And in this, we recommend that you include your specific aims that are associated with that. Section 3 is investigator information, and this is more of a biosketch. So we use the biosketch template that is provided by the Boettcher. This is a 6-page maximum document that includes a personal statement that is really an opportunity in which you can best explain why your research and why you are the best person to do that research and how that research project fits into your field. This is an important piece of, or important aspect of the review criterion. Another important point is to how does this award support your goals of becoming an independent investigator? This plan actually, can we go back? To the career plan is important to the criteria of the review. And I want to emphasize this, as Laurie did as well. Section 4, the research plan, is really the meat of the research here in a 6-page maximum document. The reviewers are expecting to see a grant that looks much like an NIH-style grant. It should have a clearly defined specific aims section. It should have a strong backgrounds and significance section that begins or that it clearly explains human health relevance and the likelihood of how that your proposed science is going to impact the scientific field. This is an opportunity to establish your scientific rationale and premise underlying your proposal. Make sure that that is sound so that you can really support the proposed aims. And also, this is a section where you will discuss the innovative aspects of your work, both intellectual innovation and technical innovation. The approach section is a specific plan that should describe the research design and methods with sufficient detail for the reader to understand what you are doing. Preliminary data, in particular establishing feasibility of the work that you propose, should be included. If this is a pilot project, how does it set up future studies and explain that it is valuable and what will be done with those data? Include statistical justification, for example, power analyses, explain how data will be analyzed, justify feasibility and numbers for any animal or human studies. We continue with that section 4 of the research plan. It is important to really, in your justification, establish the feasibility. So as you read through your document, make sure that you ask yourself, have I shown that it's possible for me to do this? Can I actually do this with the expertise, the facilities, and resources that I have? Include an expected results section. Include discussion of potential pitfalls and alternative approaches. And if space, perhaps include a timeline that allows us to see the process by which you envision successfully achieving the goals, the proposed goals. So the referencing is not included in the 6 pages of the research plan, but it should be limited to 50 references or citations. And these should be scholarly in that they are references that demonstrate your knowledge of the literature, scientific capability of you as an investigator and the feasibility of the proposed work. Cite relevant papers of your own and make it clear to the reader that this is your previous work. And do not ignore the relevant studies, especially those that raise doubts about your work. You need to address these issues as they come up. Section 5 is the budget. It's a 2-page maximum document, and you will use this using the format that was provided in the instructions and explain how the budget supports your research plan in the budget justification. So it is important to work through how your proposed budget will actually tackle the aims that you propose. Section 6 is a series of assurances, and you will sign your form as stated in the instructions. Campus assurances forms also needs to be, a campus assurance form also needs to be included. Now, an important aspect of this application is your letters of recommendation, and you can have a maximum of up to 4 of those. One of those letters should be from your chair or division chief and should include a description of the department's commitment to your research program. This is an important piece because it explains how you have the space, equipment, protected time, and startup funds that allow you to successfully achieve the aims that you propose in this application. A second letter should be from a mentor or advisor who can attest to your promise and abilities. And a final letter or a final 1 to 2 letters should be from researchers outside of the university that you are at. This is an important letter in that these letter writers should be those that can really address the merits of your science. And importantly, make it clear, ask these letter writers to make it clear that they know you and that they are familiar with your research and really can address how your research fits into the broader field. Some final application hints that I think come up every year as we're reading through these applications. So have your faculty mentor or someone else who is experienced at getting and reviewing grants read your proposal. And an important point to this is that you should allow them sufficient time so that you can address all of the issues that they may bring up in their review of your application. And another important point is, while we have experts from various fields in our review panels, it is important to note that reviewers that are not experts in your field will likely read your application. Realize that these are reviewers that are accomplished and successful researchers and are experienced at reading and reviewing research, but they may not be experts in your field. So you are writing to that audience. One final point or set of points is that if your proposal is hypothesis driven, make it clear how the work you propose will test the hypotheses. Alternatively, if your work is more discovery in nature or non-hypothesis driven, explain how generating the proposed data will move the field forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Okay, so you've heard about the program, who's eligible to apply, the application process, and some tips for completing the application. So where do you go from here? All the information and application materials you need are available on the BFWW webpage. It includes quick links on the left side for information about the grant, eligibility, and how to apply. When you select how to apply, you will get access to your campus-specific instructions and deadlines. If you click on the application components, you'll get to access forms and templates for the application, for the eligibility certification, and the BioSketch, along with the budget template and campus assurance forms. You will find a list of FAQs in the second tab on this page or on the navigation on the left side under how to apply. And lastly, a list of the campus contacts is provided in the campus-specific instructions, or you can click on the Contact Us on the left side of the web page as well. So with that, it's time for some Q&A with Lori and Chad. Please submit your questions if you haven't already. If we run out of time and didn't get to your question, we will continue to process all the questions submitted, and we'll send answers to all of you via email. Lori and Chad, here is the first question. Are the number of awards for CU limited to a specific campus, or can they all go to the same campus?
Yeah, the number of awards are not limited. It really goes to the top applicants, regardless of where their campus is.
Okay. And then secondly, how many applications are typically submitted for these awards? And I'm going to look to Jim for history, but I think it's roughly between 30 and 35 per year is normal on that.
And as we said, this year, instead of 5, we're going to have 6 awardees.
Okay. Next question, and I'll need your help on this. CDA over $175,000 per year, or total award over 3 years?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
CDA over 175 per year or total award over 3 years?
So that's something we're trying to clarify. So we will get back to you on that. We have to get to the foundation.
This next question, I think, is similar to what we had earlier. Are there limitations on the number of investigators per campus, school, department, division?
No, there's no restrictions. It's basically just the top proposals are the ones that are funded.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation between submitting the last 2 letters of recommendation from the same outside institution or different institutions?
I don't think it matters. I think as long as they're strong letters, like if you've just left a postdoc and you've got letters from the institution you were a postdoc at, that would be great. One could be from your mentor, but then it'd be nice to have someone who was really familiar with your research, but maybe not your actual mentor.
It was mentioned to state the specific aims in the abstract page. Is it intended this will serve as a traditional NIH aims page, or should the content of the aims page be included primarily for the 6-page proposal?
The content for the aims page should be really in the 6-page proposal. In contrast, on the abstract page, it was simply to state the aims that you will be achieving.
Similar to the summary page of the NIH.
Correct.
And I'm going to go back to the question earlier. The CDA is a career development award over $175,000 per year, or total over 3 years.
Yeah, and so we don't know what that answer is yet. I'm really sorry. We'll find that out for you.
Could you provide guidance? I think I might have asked this already. If I am a co-investigator but not the PI on an award that brings in more than $175,000 per year, am I still eligible?
That's a good question. It depends on what your role is. So if you're a co-investigator, I guess it really depends on how much you're contributing and what actual part of the budget goes to you. And so that would be something, it would be nice to, if you sent us the details and we could actually parse that out for you and give you an answer.
And that would be a good one to send to the Webb-Waring address, and we'll get back to you on that. For the letter from the mentor advisor, does the letter have to be from a mentor at your current institution?
Not necessarily, but I think you'd want your current mentor because it's supposed to address your proposed future research. So if your current mentor is not located at your university, that would be okay, but you want a current, like, acting mentor.
Okay.
Okay, we're debating that here. Sorry, guys. I should also add that this is Chad and my first year doing this, so we're learning along with you. I guess so. Yeah, I think if the question, if you're just coming out of a postdoc and you want a letter from your postdoc mentor, that would be acceptable.
Should these letters focus on the science or the applicant?
Both. So basically they should talk about you as your potential for an independent career, but also how your research program is novel, innovative, and will take you, will promote your independent career, your success in your independent career.
Is a researcher at another CU campus considered external? I think we have in the past.
Yes, it is.
Is it important to list my career goals?
very important to list your career goals. I mean, I think that's one thing they're looking for, because they want to see how you view your trajectory as an independent investigator.
How the aims that you propose are really going to promote that career plan.
Are there any exceptions to having received a terminal degree or completed medical residency within the 10 years preceding the application?
I don't think there are any exceptions, right? You know this more than we do.
Yeah, so we do have the flexibility from the Boettcher Foundation to make exceptions, and it usually comes up if you've already received an extension through the NIH for some type of parental leave or that type of thing. So we can look at that on an individual basis.
So I'd recommend you reach out again to that Boettcher website or email.
Okay. Clarifying an earlier question, can multiple submissions come from a single school or department?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we add co-investigator or collaborators to the proposal?
You can discuss potential collaborators, but that shouldn't be the emphasis of the proposal. I do not believe that co-PIs or co-Is are part of this application, or these funding mechanisms.
But if you're going to propose an innovative research program that you don't have expertise in part of that program, like indicating you have a collaborator with that expertise will be very important.
Yeah. But again, emphasize how this application is promoting your independent research.
And then a follow-up, can the collaborator be from a non-CU institution?
Yes.
Yes, if it makes sense, right? If it's logistical to have the collaborator in another institute.
And this is eligibility related to independent grants at just the time of submission?
No, it's eligibilities at the time of submission and at the time of award. So if you're eligible when you submit, but then say by the time say you were given the award, but now you've gotten your first R01, you will no longer be eligible.
Okay. Is there any preference regarding basic science versus clinical sciences?
So we see both types of applications. I think if it's a basic science application, you have to indicate how it's going to relate to translational research. So somehow it'll impact some aspect of health, but it can be a basic science grant. You just want to show that it's relevant. And it gets the same significance section of your NIH grant.
And if it is a clinical application, you really want to emphasize how you are going to be advancing the science of that work as well.
Would a proposal with distinct aims from my ROO, but within the same general area of research, be eligible?
That's a tricky question because it depends how similar it is. So definitely you want to have different aims, but it should be trying to take you into a new direction so that it would take you to it could be the general. Okay, I'll give you an example. So say you work on diabetes and your aims are on one aspect of your research program and the Boettcher is on a diabetes related. That's okay, but you really need to show that you're branching into a new direction of research that's different from what your R00 is.
So we'll give everyone a couple more minutes to submit any other questions.
And you can follow up with any of these questions by email. We'll do our best to answer you. And we, like I said, we'll clarify the eligibility for the, whether it's 1 year of 175,000 versus 2 or 3 years.
Is there any priority to individuals whose eligibility is sunsetting?
No. I think, again, we take the top grants, the top applicants, and it's, yeah, too bad if it's your last time, but just make sure you're the top applicant.
Can you reapply year after year if still eligible?
Yes. And you should be getting comments back, and so you'll be able to use those comments. You won't necessarily have the same reviewers. The review panel does change. We would try and keep at least one of the previous reviewers on that, but you don't get a chance to have like the one-page introduction that you have at the NIH.
And that feedback will go out after the Boettcher Foundation makes the final determination of the winner. Here we go. A naive question. Which evidence is needed to demonstrate the permanent resident status? Show a valid green card or something else?
Yeah, I think any documentation that shows you have permanent resident status would be fine. It doesn't need to be notarized. We just need to have a copy of the document.
Yeah. And I think all we really ask is they complete the certification verification form. Your department's going to sign it, and that status should be in place by the time they submit the applications at the end of February, early March. So. Any other questions? Do I need to explain how my proposal is different from my ROO within the application?
I think that would be a terrific idea. It would really, basically have a paragraph saying how it's a departure from your ROO or any other grant that you might have. It's really nice to lay it out clearly.
Okay, last call. Okay, seeing none, I wanted to thank Dr. Sussel and Dr. Pearson for their time today and see if they had any final thoughts or words of advice.
Good luck, and we are, happy the foundation is really good about answering any of your questions that might come up while you're preparing your application. I'm happy you can reach out to me. I'll probably end up having to go back to them and ask the questions, so you might want to go to them directly. Like I said, this is Chad and my first time doing this, so we're learning along with you.
Okay.
Forward to seeing your applications.
And then one last question that just came in. If the research topic for this similar to the translational research topic from SOM, will that be okay?
I think you might be talking about the translational program, no, I can't remember what it's called, but I think I know what you're talking about. It can be similar because that is to provide you with some seed money to get application or to get projects off the ground. So I think, you would be extended from those applications. As long as, it's not completely the same, you want to show that you're progressing beyond that initial application.
Great, thank you. We want to thank all of you for your interest in the program and for participating today. You will be receiving a follow-up email that will provide links to a recording of today's webinar and the PowerPoint slides and a very brief participant survey that we hope you'll fill out. That'll help us in future webinars. That concludes the webinar. Thank you again.